Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. I almost said Pat and Lila. No, excuse me. Lila and Pat.
Yeah, how did you get first bid on this thing ever? We didn't even negotiate this.
Age, beauty, alphabetically. No, I'm kidding. Sunday night shit show, aptly named. Holy cow! Every time we have a show planned, the news puts us in our place and tells us we gotta re-prep.
But how often is it good news? I mean, I could not be happier than today. I mean, I'm sure, of course, there are things that could make me happier, but as a leftist, seeing this go down today was epic. So
it's pretty excellent. It's pretty excellent. There's a lot to discuss. We will still talk about JD Vance because we are very excited to have longtime friend and mutual Zainab Day join us on the show. Hello, how are you, Ms. Zainab?
Hey guys, crazy day.
So great to have you here. Wait, we got our cheers. Everybody ready? Are you doing it, Pat?
When I'm pre-doing it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to do some big.
Yeah, well, I'll just do this.
Okay, let's see. Are you doing it?
Wait, so we just need to get to the news. So let's just mention it. Biden is out. Hello, balloon drop. Look at that.
Pat worked very hard on that stunt. And, just so everybody knows, it's not like we're excited, or at least I'm not going to speak for you, Zaina, but I am thrilled because he should have everlasting humiliation, pain, karma in this life and through eternity if you believe in it, and he does. So he should be humiliated and in terrible pain for the rest of his consciousness. So cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Amen. And cheers to Zaina joining us.
Yes, we're
to set the record straight on Hillbilly Elegy.
Yes, on the hill. Yes. So Zaina, why don't you first? I think probably most of our audience knows you, but tell us something about yourself, your background, what your work experience is with some candidates, that kind of thing, just to kind of set things up for everybody.
Okay. And I have one question for Pat. Are you lightheaded after blowing up all those balloons?
I literally told Lila that beforehand. I had no idea. It's been so long, but like your lung capacity as an adult, I'll call myself a young adult, but I'm an old adult. It's not the same. I literally got dizzy like 5 or 6 times and damn near passed out.
That well, hilarious. I'm glad you didn't pass out, right?
That would have been a funny show, though. And now he can blame like not being able to come up with words on blowing up all the balloons because he worked so hard on the
important part of the show.
The important part. Okay, so so tell us about yourself.
I was in politics for a while. I am my school background, I guess. I went to Southeastern Kentucky University. I graduated with degrees in journalism and public relations. Usually those two fields are like at odds with each other.
Right,
so that's really interesting. One degree.
Not anymore, though. Not in our country. Not anymore.
It's right. They should be. They're supposed to be. But now propaganda is the news, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it has been for a while, sadly. I was one class away from a geology major, just a random fact.
Right.
Maybe I should have went that route. Now I'm starting to think maybe I should. But
although that's a good metaphor, right? Like fossilized old, rocks that don't belong anywhere near power. But yes, okay, go ahead. It feels like
fossilization helps me understand. Fossilization helps me to understand Pelosi better.
All of them, right? Yeah. Okay. And so you're from where in Kentucky?
I am from Southeastern Kentucky, so down in coal country, deep Appalachia. I grew up in the hollers down here. I am half Iranian, so that's a really interesting thing. So I did have some of my time split between Lexington, which is more metropolitan area, and down here in the hollers. But I did grow up here. I mean, a lot of my elementary education was here. All of my high school education. I was born right here at a hospital that used to be here. It's now taken down. That's about probably 5,000 feet from where I'm sitting right now. So, okay.
You speak Farsi?
I used to speak Farsi fluently. And now,
sorry, I don't know why I just said that, because I was about to like bust out my two phrases, because one of my best friends from high school, I grew up in Cincinnati for a while. Her family is Persian from Iran, and she and her mother, I mean, they all only spoke Farsi at home. I don't know why I just said Persian. I'm sorry. That's me and all my drinks. But the two things I know that I was going to say on camera with you that she would say to her mother all the time were "Kushol" and "suck it." She would call her mother crazy pussy and tell her to shut up. So those are my two phrases of Farsi.
We always know curse words, right?
Always. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. But everybody would have said that you and I were sisters, because you and I actually look quite a bit more similar than my friend Nina. But because we were in a sea of blonde kids and we were the only two dark-haired people, but like truly look nothing alike, everybody was like, "Are you guys sisters?" It was so funny.
Sisters? That's cute.
Yeah. But so we weren't too far away from you and JD Vance. Yeah, in Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati's close. Cincinnati's really close to where he grew up in Middleton.
Right.
One of the things I learned, I was in politics for a while, so I got to organize across the country. I helped about 100 races, all federal races, all non-corporate, anti-establishment. So both parties worked against my candidates. They hated them, it was a disaster in some ways because it was really hard to get on our feet, but it was a success in other ways because, it did show that the system could be challenged. But one of the things I learned over and over again is there was kind of this neoliberal misrepresentation of like Appalachia particularly, but of back then, this was back in 2017, 18, everyone was talking about, because Trump was winning, like the silent minority. They were trotting out coal miners in hard hats every other day on the news. And they were talking about the working white man, when the reality was it was upper echelon that were voting for both Trump and Hillary. Right. That's who was supporting and bankrolling both of their campaigns. That's who supported Trump. The people that came to January 6th rally, for instance, flew out on like private jets.
Oh, yeah. And they were wealthy.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and people forget, because everybody was in such a rush to explain how Trump could win, and they wanted to pin it on white racists, right? And completely ignored the fact, well, one, that what you're saying, right? Like he actually got support of quite a few wealthy white women. But a lot of people who voted for him had voted for Obama just 4 and 8 years prior. So just like a blanket, oh, they're all racist, was so lazy. But yes, they did paint a whole swath of our country with a really disgusting broad brush. And JD Vance certainly was helpful in that endeavor.
Yeah, because his book came out in 2017. And I related to it a great deal. It's funny, in the movie, his mama looks almost identical to my mama. Glenn Close. It's so weird. The person who played his mother looks Amy Adams, I think it was. She's a splitting image of my mom. They act like my grandparents and my mom. It reminds me of what I went through growing up. I didn't have an easy childhood. I had a hard childhood. There was a lot of poverty. But he leaves out a lot in his book, and most of it is just hating on our community, to be honest. It's this hyper sort of Ayn Rand fountainhead.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, individual. Yep.
Hyper bootstrapping. It's so ironic because he says that he went to Yale. He's a Yale graduate. So it's one of those, it's sort of like when people use Clarence Thomas as an example that Black people can get out of poverty. Yep. It's very similar in that,
it's like the model minority kind of deal. Yeah.
Right. That social and cultural impacts, or not social and cultural, socioeconomic impacts don't matter. Right. That it's all individual choices that people make. At one point in his book, he even said hillbilly men are immune to work.
Yeah.
Are you
what?
It's
Yeah.
so disgusting. I watched the movie and I haven't read the book. I ordered it. And then of course it didn't come till just this morning. So, but I watched the movie and, it was really interesting because, and I think from what I've read criticism about the book as well, there's no mention of why people are immune to work, why his mother is a drug addict, why, like it happens in this like just natural disaster kind of idea. And between, him wanting to just throw his people, which I know it's not really his people, but what are sort of whatever under the bus, and a liberal millionaire like Ron Howard making a movie about it, they never blame the perpetrators of why are jobs leaving this area? Why is Big Pharma pushing all of these drugs? Right? Like it all, as you said, happened in a vacuum, and there's no perpetrator, there's no villain, except for the people who are actually the ones who are the victims.
It doesn't even cross his mind that if my mom had childcare, what if she had work programs? What if there were programs to help her deal with this addiction? What sparked the addiction?
Where do our jobs go?
Yeah, where is addressing domestic violence? Like he talks about a legacy of domestic violence. Well, here's the thing. He now advocates for couples to stay together despite domestic violence.
Yep.
He
advocates don't make it right.
For no-fault marriage. No-fault marriage. Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Well, no, but the JD Vance of today wouldn't even agree with his movie of 6-7 years ago. I mean, he would be blaming immigrants for his mom being an addict, which is basically the entire platform of the Republican Party now.
Ron Howard is a piece of crap. I'm sorry, but what Ron Howard did is he took this book and he made a movie, and in the movie, he looks endearing. I cried during the movie. He comes off endearing. He comes off like he really respects his people. There's one scene where they're sitting around and he's sitting around with the other lawyers at a table and they insult his family, and he stands up for his family and his people. In the book, he actually does the opposite. In the book, he said that he learned how to marry and he learned how to blend in, and that we all need to learn how to blend in. He advocated for mass flight out of our neighborhoods. He called us ignorant and stupid in the book so many times I can't even count. And the movie presented him as loving his people and being forgiving and wanting to stand up for us. And it was such bullshit. I felt like it was so disingenuous. And is it because Ron Howard can't see? Or is it because liberals truly believe that about us? And so Ron Howard took a turd and polished it, basically. And then...
I mean, it's so hard, right? Because probably he didn't know that he was helping create and sort of lionize the guy who then, is becoming the next vice president of the United States, probably. And you have to make it compelling and dramatic and all of those things. So you take some artistic licenses, but I also do think the fact that we never see anything about NAFTA, anything about Big Pharma, anything about climate change and who's to blame. And again, like these things, there's a reason. It's not like all of a sudden there was just a giant flood, which at this point anyway, you could blame on Exxon and Chevron and big oil and all of that. But like, it's not a natural disaster. It's not an act of God or whatever. These were billionaire, corporate, greedy people who created these conditions. And it just happens with nothing tethered to the reality of why it happened. And that I do think is because he's a liberal. How's he going to blame himself and all of his friends?
Exactly. Exactly. And, something that really struck me was everything that you just mentioned. And also in his book, in JD Vance's book, he doesn't acknowledge any of the history because he ain't from here. He says he's one county over, and I know some Vances. I know some Vances. I also know some of who the family name that his grandparents were, and they're probably related to him somewhat because this is a very small community. But I literally grew up a town over from him, so I know all kinds of people from Jackson, Kentucky. They come to London because we're off I-75, and we're basically like going to town. When they go to town, they come to London. They come to our lakes. They come here because we have the Walmart here within the 5-county area.
Of course, right.
It's just, so I live in like the metropolis version, which is the county of 4,000 here.
Right.
But I love my home, so I'm not disparaging it. But he grew up in Middleton, Ohio.
Yeah.
His grandparents left in the 40s with a lot of mass flight that we had after the coal boom and bust, which he doesn't even talk about, where people had to leave the region because the coal company shut down. He doesn't talk about the history of labor. He talks about the term redneck without having any clue where it's from. He said it was because of farmers working in fields. No, it wasn't. That's a mythology. Redneck actually comes from the fact that there was something called bloody, why can't I remember? Blair Mountain, the Blair Mountain War, or Battle of Blair Mountain. Yeah, and it's where workers rose up against. They rose up against the coal companies, because what the coal companies was essentially having them do was use script, which wasn't real money. They were paying them with like a fake money, and these people could only shop. Right. Exactly. In the company store, their housing bills went directly back to the company. All that money went directly back into the coal company. It was like an indentured servitude.
Yep.
And their contracts would be like 30, 40 years. It was insane. And they would hold people at gunpoint to work in the mines. So even if someone was sick, they would come to their home at gunpoint, drag them out of the house, and force them to go to the mines.
Right.
Absolute insanity. So people rose up. And on
they
Bloody
wore like a red scarf or bandana or something, right?
Yeah. They wore a red bandana around their arms. They tied it to lunch boxes, or they tied it to their neck. And that was to symbolize that they were part of the union. So at first it was secret. Yeah. That was the secret signal to all the workers that they were part of the union. And that's where the term redneck comes from. So he's anti-labor. He says he's pro-union, but he's not. And he doesn't even know our history. So why you're going to write a book called Hillbilly Elegy when, one, you're not a hillbilly? Granted, he has ties to here. His grandparents are. So he has some roots to our culture. Right. But all he does is insult our culture, doesn't know anything about the history, doesn't know anything about labor. And he is from Middleton, so he could have accurately talked about Middleton, but he actually talks about Ohioans in the same way. He trashes them too, just as much, when they have similar economic problems in Middleton as we do here in Appalachia. So,
but Trump is going to push this message of, bringing coal back. Even, I mean, they're already doing that. So, it fits perfect into this. Well, under Biden, we became the biggest producers of oil in the world, which people don't know. They think, we get all our oil from, Iran, not Iran, but like, Canada. We do get most of our,
but we're producing it and exporting it. Yeah.
From oil. But, but anyway, they're going to push this next new narrative, and Democrats are going to support them on it, that we need to be energy independent, which is more digging, more oil, more coal, more everything. The opposite of what we should be doing. And so he's a perfect,
token
voice for that, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
He fits for them.
Yeah, no, they're definitely using him as well. And also he said just enough of the right words. I really liked Sean O'Brien's speech, even though I am definitely skeptical of his actual motives, possibly, or even like what he might do in the future. I'm not putting any faith in his actions, but I was really pleased to see him give the speech that he gave in front of all of these, repulsive capitalist CEOs and muckety mucks of the GOP, talking about the ruling elite. I mean, even JD Vance used those words. He's an even clearer vessel of like giving cover to what they're all going to end up doing anyway, which will be huge tax breaks and destroying the environment and, war with.
He went straight out of his Ivy League education, this bullshit hero journey that sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on the show, but I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God, please. Only,
okay.
Yeah, you can only cuss.
Like, I'm pretty sure I have. Or was that just when we were talking?
No. Every sentence, yeah.
I wasn't sure. But, this bullshit hero's journey. This is something classic that they've done to Appalachians, but they've done it to Black communities, Hispanic communities. They love to tokenize someone with this hero journey story to show, thanks, Ware, to show that you can actually pick yourself up by the bootstraps, that it's real. And MLK even talked about how it was used against Black people all the time. And so he took this hero's journey story, and then I'll get to it in just a second, but I remember him saying in his book that there was somebody he went to law school, or he went to undergrad with, that then went to law school at OSU, and he realized that she's now working in a diner. So his choice was going to have to be, the only way he could get out of there was to go to Ivy. And I'm like, dude, isn't that a problem? Isn't that a problem that you having a state degree wouldn't be enough, and the only way you could get out of poverty is to go all the way to Ivy? But what is everybody in Appalachia going to go become an Ivy Leaguer? Yep. He has to get through the upper echelon. The whole book is about him getting through the upper echelon of the elite, really. Yep. And it's like, that's not upward mobility. He doesn't talk about opening. He doesn't even talk about the moderate things like small business ownership. Right. He goes straight to, you got to go. And then he went and worked for Peter Thiel, because I think Peter Thiel knew he could tokenize this guy through this hero journey bullshit. And so he went and worked for Peter Thiel. He failed out at 4 different venture capitalist firms under Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel was placing him and calling buddies and having him. Right. And then Peter Thiel placed him basically in the Senate by bankrolling his race to the tune of $10 million, when people in Middleton hated his guts because of this book. So yeah. So okay, Pat, did you want to ask it? Because I wanted to get into the Peter Thiel connection.
No, go.
And all that.
Go.
Yeah, and then also we have like a 3-minute clip that we can start and stop, but of him at the at the big convention that we wanted to show a little bit. So yeah, and then we'll talk about. I know the big news of today was Biden dropping out. We will get to that, but we just kind of wanted to make sure we got to the JD Vance stuff, because we know you're writing about it, and your background and everything.
Is your Substack up yet?
No, Substack went down like 5 times today, and I was reading that it was because of the CrowdStrike stuff, and I was like, great. I'm trying to launch a show, guys, and trying to relaunch my Substack, and then this happens. Vance was announced. Biden steps down. I know. Strike happens. I was like, bad timing, Zaina.
Hard to keep up with all this stuff. Like in any other, year, I don't know, but era, the fact, Biden's debate would have been enough for months, or Trump failed assassination attempt would have been like, but each day there's like another piece of news that a genocide, each thing just keeps getting supplanted by the next crazy moment. So yeah, okay.
How the largest IT shutdown in American history. It's just crazy stuff.
But and also internationally, right? Planes across the world with CrowdStrike a few nights ago. Okay, so, and I don't mean to, if you don't know about something about him, I don't mean to bring you on and just have you only be like an expert on JD Vance, but I think you possibly know more than I do about him.
I love reading this guy.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So he leaves Yale. He doesn't go Yale Law, doesn't go to clerk for somebody the way his wife went to clerk for Brett Kavanaugh. Like, oh my God. I mean, this is why he has his idea of people who come to this country need to drop everything from their their native countries behind and just like absorb the most repulsive parts of the US. And that's the only way to get ahead. That's his whole philosophy. So she goes to clerk for Kavanaugh. And how is he discovered by Peter Thiel? Or he just decides he wants to go make a lot of money in Silicon Valley?
That's a mystery. Okay. People have been trying to dig into that and figure out how he was connected to Thiel, but no one's exactly sure. A lot of this started happening. Well, he was actually hired on by Thiel before the book. So I think Thiel was part of what encouraged him to write the book. I really do. Yeah. But what my personal belief is that Thiel heard of this guy, and it was an opportunity to get this bootstrapping narrative out, because workers were starting to get antsy. What's been happening? Unions have been uprising all over the country, and some of those have been impacting Thiel, right? You get some guy from the heart of labor, which is Appalachia,
to give you
and
cover.
get them to shit on everyone, and to
Yeah.
say that the best way that you can do this is to leave your, leave your
shitty
village,
roots behind. Yeah.
leave your hometown,
Yeah.
become culturally truly American. He calls us, he says that it's a cultural degeneracy, that the problem at the end of his book here, I'll read it to you just one second. You guys have got to hear this before we watch this video. I think is that okay? Do we have time?
Oh my God. Yeah, of course.
Well,
I have the book here. It came like as I was prepping today, so I haven't even cracked the binding or anything.
I was going to watch the movie, and then I realized I'd already watched it, and I just had never connected it to JD Vance.
Oh, that's funny.
I had no
Yeah,
idea.
and I told you guys I'd have the article out, but then Substack kept crashing on me yesterday and today, and I was very frustrated. And I would get it written, and three-quarters of the way through, and then I would come back and it wasn't. And I was like,
my God,
why is this happening? So I appreciate it. I'm sorry that
we can't wait to read it once it is up.
I felt like I was needed to get a school assignment in, and I couldn't get it in.
It's the worst feeling ever.
Yes.
Interesting. This is what Ware said, and I want to hear what you. But like she says, I think he sought out Thiel according to a New York Times article. He was apparently enticed by Thiel's drop out of school and start a business thing he was hyping at the time. Interesting. Oh God. Okay. So yeah, tell us.
Interesting. He said, so in his closing, he said, these problems were not were created by governments or corporations or anyone else.
We're not.
We're not. We created them, and only we can fix them. We don't need to live like the elites of California, New York, or Washington, D.C. We don't need to work 100 hours a week at law firms or invest in banks. We don't need to socialize at cocktail parties. We do need to create a space for the JDs and Bryans, which is another guy he talks about in the story, of the world to have a chance. I don't know what the answer is precisely, but I do know we need to stop blaming Obama or Bush or faceless companies and ask ourselves what we can do to make things better. And then he goes on to say that it was a cultural decline, a cultural degenerate decline.
This is why liberals loved him and love this book.
Neoliberals loved it because they're like, oh yeah, those dumb hillbillies are doing it to themselves. It's not us.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not the way we vote, or it's not the way that we have built these corporations and that we support corporate interest. It's their fault. I'm okay in my McMansion because, I shouldn't feel bad about these poor hillbillies. It's their own damn fault. They loved it.
Yeah, it's so gross. I mean, it really shows once again how they're just all on the same team. Mm-hmm. They're all on the same team. They love that. They love being let off the hook. And again, it's like there was somebody the other day said something about, billionaires could solve poverty. I was like, dude, who do you think created poverty? Like, can we, what are you talking about? Yeah, they could, but then they would have to, you see that now Elon Musk is going to give $45 million a month to Trump's campaign. 45 million he pledged. So
has that?
Yeah. That's the best bribe ever, apparently, because he'll just make billions more, right? Like,
let's all get jobs on Trump's campaign and sabotage from the back end while making the bank.
We can change them from within, just like the squad. Sorry.
It's not just the money. I mean, with the platform itself has tremendous power because like they for 3 days now they've had Andrew Tate's tweet up dropping the N-bomb. Like publicly, he calls someone an N-bomb.
Yep.
And meanwhile, if you use the word cis, you're banned from the platform.
And you're banned.
You're not allowed to say
for saying
it's a
Zionist,
slur, according to him.
Or from the river to the sea.
That alone is way to weed leftists versus right people. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think most people listening would know this, but just a little bit about my personal story. I worked as a waitress and in restaurants and in construction and in all kinds of different jobs because I always had 2, sometimes 3 jobs, literally, and 1 or 2 of them would be full time my whole life. And I became pregnant, and I decided, okay. I was having a really hard time getting a job after the 2008 marketing crash. I'm old, you guys, or market crash. Really?
So we could be your parents.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm
Yes.
older than both of you.
Let's not have this
good
fight.
God.
We'll win. We'll win.
I was
keep
born
talking.
in 78.
Let's just keep talking. Keep
Yeah,
going.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm an actress. I have to lie about my age. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I won't out you then. We'll just
Yeah, I was born in 94. No, I'm kidding. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
94.
Mm.
I can't believe people are
And I
born
weigh
in
105. No, okay,
now.
yeah. All right. So yeah, so you
Okay.
so you got pregnant, you were working all these jobs, and were you in Kentucky then, or where were you? Yeah, okay.
I was in Kentucky, and
But why didn't you go to Yale?
I'm about to get there. So I went to college. I had 2 degrees. I worked full time, and I was a single mom.
Wow.
So I did that. He talks about in his book how he crammed in 21 to 23 college credit hours, and he took summer courses. I did that. My teachers actually sent in an application for Yale for me, and I didn't know it was the one place that had what I wanted to do at the time, which was internet law to protect First Amendment rights. It was the only place at the time that had any kind of program like that. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to go to Yale. But I took my LSAT, and my professors actually sent in a recommendation for me, and I was accepted. I was surprised, but then I found out that and I didn't really want to go. I was like, well, that's the only one that has a program. I guess I'm SOL, right? Because I assumed that there's no way I could go to Yale for, a Juris Doctorate. So I looked into them, and I couldn't get the assistance I needed. They had no programs for parents. You had to live on campus for a year required.
Wow.
With no exceptions. So if you're a mother, you're a parent, there were no exceptions for families or anything. So no, I didn't go. So, I would tell Vance, there are limitations to people that even make it to that level, that graduate magna cum laude, that make it into Yale. Poverty is a massive hindrance to mobility, even if you do all the things you're supposed to do. I mean, after that, I worked, 100 political elections. I've advised presidential candidates. I've done all of this. And for the last 2 years, I can't find a job despite all of that work and a resume. And even when I went into my field, people were, discriminating against me because I'm Appalachian.
Right.
And because I stopped hiding my accent, because fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide my accent anymore. I'm not going to wash away who I am with some neutral accent, which he advises about 20 times in his book, that we adopt a neutral accent.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you know what? If I don't get the jobs because they discriminate against me because of where I'm from, I've had liberals say, I'm so sorry you're from there. I bet you can't wait to get out.
Oh.
People that are on the left say that to me. And I'm like, I love my people and I love where I'm from. Well, how does it feel being surrounded by racists? I'm like, I'm not. How does it feel surrounded by extremists? Kentucky is purple, actually. It's not a deep red state. That's a mythology. Right. It's just not.
Well, and look,
if the Democrats cared about winning, your resume should be screaming at them to hire you. I mean, I'm not saying you want to go work for the Democrats, but as a political consultant, you are tapped into your area. I mean, that's like how many people have the expertise you have and are from the area as well?
But
like
they don't want to hear those words, right? Except for Andy Bashir is like, I mean, right? Isn't he pretty? Wait, Andy Bashir, is that who I mean? Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, governor, he's actually decent.
Yeah.
I am not a Democrat. I'm not a fan of the Democratic Party, but I am objective. He got a tuition-free college. He expanded our Medicaid to the point where my mom has coverage for things she would not have had coverage for before him. He expanded it out to tons of people in poverty. I think something like 1.2 million more Kentuckians have medical insurance now, and there's only like 5 million of us in the state. So that's huge.
That's huge.
He expanded the police budget, but this is funny because now conservatives are mad at him because they found out that expansion went to social services and handling domestic violence and opioid crisis instead of to policing, to incarceral policing.
Right.
I kind of like the bait and switch there. That's fun.
Me too.
He refused IDF training in our police forces. He went, when he was running, he went to a pro-Palestine rally. He cracked down on our colleges that were trying to demonize students for protesting.
Sorry, Zaina, did you say that when he was running, he went to the protests?
Yeah.
And he won?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like when people talk about, oh, defund the police ruined Democrats' chances, you know, we always remind them there are two people I know who explicitly ran on defund the police. Cori Bush, who won, and here in Los Angeles, our LA County Controller, Kenneth Mejia, and he won. And it's the same, like, they love using this thing that they float out words that they don't like. I agree with everything you're saying, just not the way you say it. And then, you know, MSNBC and CNN get all their talking points. But then the person on the ground who's actually doing the work, like that is, I mean, it's sort of defunding the police. It's like a step there where, yeah, the money is going towards not incarcerating people, but towards social programs or whatever. And that's popular.
He militarized 20 of our forces.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And that happens in Kentucky, which they're trying to act like is JD Vance territory, which obviously I know there's so many different kinds of people, but like it's possible anywhere. And Democrats keep giving up on whole parts, the flyover country, which is like the whole nation, except for LA.
Or he won in part because he still got 40% to 50, almost 50% in a lot of the really red, quote unquote, red counties. One of the reasons that he did well here, and gubernatorial turnouts can be low, so you'll get the most sycophantic Republicans showing up, you know, to vote in this election. So it's kind of skewed. But is because he gave us tuition-free community college, free lunch for all the kids. He restored the teacher's pension. And then we also now have free pre-K and childcare here.
Wow.
So what you're saying is you're more liberal than California now.
I mean, truly.
I mean, not in our state house and not in some other, like, some of the laws and stuff like that. But these programs are real. And that's why I tell people you guys can't have him for VP because I don't want to leave his seat. And then a Republican be, you know, an extreme right winger take his place and you know, undo all these policies because we're one of the poorest. We're one of the two poorest states in the union. Yeah. And we desperately need this help. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about Appalachia and about the people here. And I think all that JD Vance does is to uphold those stereotypes.
That's his whole role. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole objective for him. That's why they use him. Yeah. Should we watch a little bit of his speech at the RNC convention just so we can kind of see? Because I will say, I thought his demeanor, I'd never seen him really speak before. I thought his demeanor was great. I can see why they like him. He has a bit of a sense of humor. He's young. He's energetic. He said, like, I mean, I was writing things down because I kind of could not believe what was coming out of his mouth, talking about a big tent. You know, we love discussing differences, free speech. He talked about the ruling elite, talked about NAFTA. He
actually talked about policy.
He did. And that could be enough because people don't ever, you know, it's like when Joe Biden reads off a teleprompter and they're like, see, he just had one bad night at the debate. He's actually good. It's like, I don't care what anybody says. I care what they do. Right. But then of course, you know, he got to the patriotism, serving in the Marines, and then talked about how Trump isn't in the pocket of big business. So, you know, a green new scam. That was the other thing. Like, such a climate denialist.
That's the biggest thing he's there for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's why both parties love him, because he's going to push the ratchet effect is going to make everybody go more right on climate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he doesn't, this Kentucky, man, we have some of the most poisoned water in the country, some of the most poisoned water in the globe, percentage wise. There are some places that have it worse, but we're down there. I live in a county that has some of the most poisoned water in the world.
Yeah.
We have had mountaintop removal. We have had massive climate crises. The county he was from flooded because of mountaintop removal just in 2022 down in Jackson, Kentucky. Remember the massive floods in Kentucky?
Yeah.
That's where his family's from. Yet he's going to deny climate change. Doesn't even mention, not even climate change, but how corporations have wreaked havoc in our region. He doesn't even mention that. And that to me is insane.
So what's his popularity in the state right now? Like before the Trump connection?
I don't know. I do know that people were informed hate his guts, but I think that people that aren't informed may look at him and be like, oh, he's just a good old boy from here. We're so proud. We finally have some representation. And I don't blame them, because I want to be excited about someone being a VP pick from down here in the hills. I want to be, but I can't be because I read his book. If they watch his movie, they may come away with he's endearing.
Yeah.
Oh, they may actually
you're talking to two people. You're talking to two people from California, and Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee. So
you get it.
We have a similar thing going on here.
Yeah. All right, let's watch a little bit, right?
Okay.
Sure.
We've heard about villains and their victims. I've talked a lot about that, but let me tell you about the future. President Trump's vision is so simple and yet so powerful. We're done, ladies and gentlemen, catering to Wall Street. We'll commit to the working man.
Crazy.
We're done importing foreign labor. We're going to fight for American citizens and their good jobs and their good wages. We're done buying energy from countries that hate us. We're going to get it right here from American workers in Pennsylvania and Ohio and across the country. We're done sacrificing supply chains to unlimited global trade, and we're going to stamp more and more products with that beautiful label, made in the USA.
Okay, but this is the same audience that booed the union guy, Sean.
Right.
Was it Sean?
Yeah, Sean O'Brien, yeah.
Yeah, Sean. Well, they didn't boo him, but it was ice cold. And it's because these are insiders here mostly. This is not the public. This is like, they know when to cheer, they know when to not cheer.
Right.
And so when the union guy was there actually saying stuff, they didn't want to seem pro-union, even though everything he was saying is the same stuff this guy's saying, but they know he's got some actual power to make this stuff happen. They're just cheering on the platitudes right now.
Yeah. Yeah. But in Trump's vision.
that they know are platitudes.
Sorry, I just have to say, I never saw so much chanting that was so weird. Sometimes he didn't even know how to respond. They chanted, "Yes, we are." And he was like, "You guys are a great crowd," because they kept chanting. They're like, "Yes, we are." And he was like, he went, "I went to the Ohio." And then they're like, "OHIO," whatever. Then he was like, "And this is my wife, Usha." And they're like, "Usha, Usha." Then they're like, "My mom." Like, it was JD's mom. They were actually chanting JD. It was the weirdest.
It was weird. Yeah. OHIO makes sense because that is a chant that they do at all their football games and stuff. But the rest of it,
JD's mom, like what? It's like weird chant. Yeah.
We're going to build factories again, put people to work making real products for American families made with the hands of American workers. Together, we will protect the wages of American workers and stop the Chinese Communist Party from building their middle class on the backs of American citizens. Together, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer. Together, we will send our kids to war only when we must. But as President Trump showed with the elimination of ISIS and so much more, when we punch, we're going to punch hard. Together, we will put the citizens of America first, whatever the color of their skin. We will, in short, make America great again.
Disaster.
Was that it? Good.
Yeah, we're done. Take him away. Bye.
He's so boring.
I mean,
But
he really is. Yeah.
Good right now because everything else is so crazy that it's going to resonate a little bit with some people. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, look, normalcy." You know what I mean? Like he was the only normal speaker besides Sean at the whole RNC. Let's be honest.
100%.
Was a glaring like distinction. Like if you've got him compared to like Guilfoyle or something,
Oh my God. Yeah. For Laura,
I'm not for the guy. I'm just saying people just watching it on TV would be like, wow, he's not crazy. You know,
I have to say the first 3 nights, even as much as I can't stand Laura Trump and Sarah Huckabee Sanders and all, like the first 3 nights were energetic. And if you only are listening to what they're saying and don't know reality, which is what most people on both sides do.
True.
I thought the first 3 nights created a much more loving, warm, positive environment for a batshit crazy party that's built on hate and anti-worker. I mean, in a different way, so is obviously the DNC, but they've done a much better job of masking it. And now it felt like the GOP was trying to mask it, right? They're talking about how we're a big umbrella. We welcome different ideas. We want immigrants. We just want them to fit our way of being here, which is gross. But I also think a lot of people co-sign that, and a lot of immigrants and children of immigrants actually co-sign that. So like that felt like the furthest right thing that they said out loud. And then it all spiraled out on Thursday night.
Well, speaking of immigrants, I too think that part of the reason Vance was selected, because they keep propping up Usha, was because his wife is a brown woman who is an immigrant. But Usha is one of those, if we come in the right way, so everyone else should come in the right way, migrants. And some of those migrants that are that way paid their way in. Because if you're wealthy and you can get here, it's very easy to come to the States. Now, for others that don't have the money, it can be a lot harder and more of a challenge. But I think that in some ways, the pick wasn't just him. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but 100%. I think that they're tokenizing her too and milking that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And Frida Pinto was a great choice to play her in the movie, you know, and that whole love story. Like, it's like a liberal dream. It's the model minority. It's the whole, like, you know, meritocracy, all of that stuff. It just validates everything that neoliberalism exalts.
It really does. It really does. It's very disappointing.
It's very disappointing.
But neoliberals are always the ones that prop us up the worst and shittiest candidates. And, you know, if you guys recall them talking about Trump back in, you know, 2016 and, you know, 2015, and their constant coverage of him was part of what skyrocketed him to the top of the GOP ticket.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
And
and JD Vance called Trump an American Nazi.
Hitler. Yeah.
American Hitler.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but it just shows how craven these politicians are, that he's such an asset to him now that you can get past this guy on your own ticket calling you a Nazi. I mean, to me, he's a perfect pick for the GOP for that reason, in a way, because he can take the never Trumpers that were on board with him, and he's a convert now.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So do we have any, I mean, this tweet, it's just because it's, you know, what you were just talking about, that universal daycare is class war against normal people, which is moms who don't work.
He says
Yeah,
that
who are the
his mom struggled, you know, to provide childcare, and then his answer to that is universal health care is bullshit. It's like, what?
I mean,
Moms just need to stay home and stay married. It's like, in some ways, he like pulls his own personal trauma into it because his mom didn't stay in a marriage. But in another way, that's not an excuse.
no, and it's not a solution. Like, what is that? The trad wife thing, is that the whole deal? Like, is that just? But his wife isn't that, doesn't she? I mean, isn't she a high-powered lawyer, or did she just stay home once that happened? Once she sold out and clerked for Brett Kavanaugh, then she just stayed home with the kids. I don't know her story.
I
So
don't
I have no
think she
idea.
did. Their wives never do, hardly ever.
Yeah.
If you look like their wives are like running businesses, and they're all hypocrites. They're hypocrites.
Well, they pay their help. They don't need universal childcare. If you want to do it properly, you pay your undocumented. You pay your undocumented worker that you can pay under the table, so you don't have to pay into their taxes or their health care or anything.
Well, once the coal mines all come back, that lifts everybody up. You know, once we start selling all this oil, everyone's going to make enough money, and we're not going to need social programs. That's literally what Trump was running on. It's like, we're going to, and we're going to stop, you know, blame the Mexicans, blame the border, otherize everybody else. And, you know, his wife, JD Vance's wife, provides cover for that narrative, as we were saying.
Yep.
You know what's crazy? A 2-person income would be wonderful. There are a lot of parents I know. I would have loved to stay home with my child when she was young, but there was no way I could have afforded it. It wasn't a choice for me. Some people do actually want to stay home, and that's fine, both mothers and fathers, but that's a pipe dream for 99% of Americans. Most of us couldn't stay home even if we wanted to with our children, because we don't have any paid parental leave.
Right.
Or people lose jobs. Women lose jobs all the time because they get pregnant. Yeah. They get fired all the time.
Or won't get hired in the first place. Or
And being in a relationship isn't a choice. So this idea that marriage solves everything, people don't. That's why incels are so frustrated, is because they're told all the time, marriage is going to solve all your problems. You know, it's going to fix everything. You'll have someone to take, and then they can't find dates, or they have trouble going out and socializing.
Right.
And relationships should be a personal choice, and also they are a choice, but also not everyone can just go out and get married tomorrow. It's not like it's a choice that people are necessarily making to not get married. Another thing with that is that a 2-person income is nice to have. So most people would love to have a partner or even a roommate that they can share the bills with. So it's so out of touch. It's so stupid. It's like they're not choosing, you know, a traditional lifestyle, or they're not choosing to have relationships and get married. Well, hell, when people are working 4 jobs, when do they even have time to go out and date and find a partner and start a nuclear family? And what if you can't buy a home because, you know, everything
you've been priced out and your wages aren't enough? And also the idea, you know, universal programs are the only way to change what's happening in our country. And so anybody who is ever against them, which is most of the Democratic Party as well, right? They just want like, you know, they want to do all the means testing and all that kind of stuff. That is how you destroy programs. That's how you know, like, that's why Elizabeth Warren is a complete sack of shit, pretending to be progressive or left or whatever. Everything was means tested, just like Kamala Harris. And so again, like, he really is straddling the line between the corporate Dems and the never Trumpers to help everybody just move a little bit to the right.
Right. His most popular line, which is something I think neoliberals believe too, because I think they sneer down at people on social services as well.
Yeah.
Is people are hardworking, except of course for the many food stamp recipients who show little interest in honest work.
I saw that too. Fuck off. That is just, I mean, it's just so disgusting. But that was, you know, Clinton. You know, it's so funny, like these disgusting far right words that come out of people, out of what I used to think were right wingers' mouths, are then put into policy by Democrats every time.
We used to have, after the New Deal, we had tuition-free college, because college was subsidized up until the late 90s, early 2000s at 85%. So when boomers say that they got to go to college for free and then work summer jobs and pay it off, yeah, they did, because the government paid 85% of your tuition if you went to a state college, man. Yeah. You basically got to go tuition free. So yeah, a summer job paid that off, you idiot. It doesn't for us, because we have to pay, 90% of the tuition. So it's flipped.
And 60% of our income goes to rent, where only 20 to 30% of theirs went to rent.
Yeah, it used to be
exactly
a quarter of your pay.
We had rent control. We had subsidized pre-K and childcare, the quote-unquote welfare programs and welfare queen trope. He literally put into his book, but he says now the welfare queens are stupid white people in Appalachia. He said he knows plenty of welfare queens. They're white women that grew up next door to him with 6 kids and on food stamps. Like, go to hell, man.
And that's their way to not be racist. They're really being racist against the social economic class. That's where the hillbilly thing works for Republicans, because even white people can be the bad people,
It's like drain pool politics, right? Like during the civil rights movement, there had been all of these public pools that anybody could go to, but whites only. Then as integration happens, all these racist white people didn't want black people in their pools. And instead of opening the pool to everybody, like a sane person would do, they drained them, covered them with concrete. So basically they denied themselves the privilege of having a pool, because they couldn't bear the fact that a black person could also enjoy theirs. So it's the same thing.
Exactly.
With universal health, like healthcare, all of it.
And can I be honest about something? Like, there is something or can I add something before I go that I think is extraordinarily important, that is a mythology that almost everyone that's outside of the region believes, and even some in the region, because there was a history that was erased on purpose. From the mid 1700s all the way through the 1960s, let's say, the Appalachian region, it's an extremely diverse region. We're not white folks. That's a misnomer. We have the Melungeons. Almost all of us have Native American DNA. Like, almost all of us have indigenous DNA, and quite a bit of it, most of us do. But there's a reason for that. What happened was that Scots-Irish settlers settled here because they were discriminated against. They were treated like a different race when they first came over and were fleeing the British, because the British at the time were treating the Scots-Irish horribly, putting them under indentured servitude. They were starving them. So they were refugees. Right. So they came over here as refugees, but they couldn't settle up north because there was so much discrimination against them. So they settled in the Appalachian Mountains. They lived hand in hand with the indigenous people. They ended up having a lot of blended families, doing farm work, all of that stuff. Also, we were a safe haven for escaped slaves. So a lot of escaped slaves came into the mountains and hid. We had Turkish settlers that came here and escaped genocide in Turkey. We had Kurdish people. They were the Melungeons. They were brown Middle Easterners who were Muslim that lived in the hills of Appalachia. So what happened was Jackson's army came to Kentucky and West Virginia to round up our indigenous people. We shot Jackson's army. We killed them in extraordinarily violent ways. We cut their heads off, hung them up in the trees, put them on spikes. And so Jackson's army fled. And after that, they started calling us hillbillies, and they started saying, it was the mountains have eyes kind of things. They started calling us terrorists, basically. Yeah, that we were terrifying. Don't go into those mountains. The people are toothless. They're inbred. They're ignorant. We were less inbred than some of them were, because I tell you what, we were some of the most diverse communities in the country. Yeah. But because we were racially mixed, that's why they called us stupid. They called us savages. They called us all of that, because we were racially mixed. Right. And so the mythology that we're white is a mythology. It's a mythology. We have a lot of Scots-Irish, but we also have a ton of, and even to this day, they will not recognize our indigenous tribes here, because they blended in and because they didn't leave. So another thing that ended up happening is after that, we had the massive labor union uprisings, which sparked labor union uprisings across the country. People were started wearing the red bandanas across the country, so they had to demonize the term redneck because it became a term of revolution.
Yeah.
Other thing, the last thing that happened was that the KKK tried to come in. The KKK were mostly from Maine, upstate New York, and Indiana. That's where the KKK is housed. Actually, up north, people don't, there's not a lot of history told about this, but the KKK originated up north. The Daughters of Confederacy went up north. A lot of some of the most racist policies came from up north and was seeded into the South as a way to control Black people once slavery was abolished. Right. So the KKK came in here. We did the same thing. We hung them. We cut their heads off. We shot them. We buried them.
I like you guys. You guys are good people. Hell yeah.
We still do the same thing when the KKK come here. We still run them off. You can find videos where white nationalists come here thinking that they're going to come to like Kentucky or West Virginia and everyone's going to be like, whoa, yeah.
Warm welcome. Yeah.
They bought that we were the racists too. They bought that we were this, but then they come into our hills and we're like, get the fuck out of here. Who are you? And we'll run them off. We don't like it. So there is that whole misconception. And what pisses me off the most is JD Vance upholds that misconception because he ain't from here. He knows none of this history, even though he's going to write a biography about being a hillbilly. He's not. He doesn't know any of the history. Yeah. And he's going to talk about us that way. And one of the reasons we've been kept poor and we've been held down is because we are that way. And that threatens the status quo, that threatens the elite. And they're terrified of us because when we rose up in the coal mines, we had Native Americans, we had Black people, the Chinese railroad workers were standing with us. It was an extremely mixed bag of people, and it was all poor people unified under an umbrella. So one of the sad things is they tried to bring in, and the messaging did work for some people, luckily not the majority, but some people fell for the, oh, you're white, at least you're better than the Black person narrative. Yeah. So there were people that fell for that, and they did that on purpose to divide us, which is upsetting. But neoliberals uphold that. Neoliberals uphold that by calling us white and calling us racist and all these other things. The movie, The Hills Have Eyes, you guys have heard of that, right? Yeah. You've heard of Deliverance, right? Deliverance.
Oh, yeah. Ned Beatty. Yeah.
You know who paid for those movies? Coal companies.
Say Peter Thiel. Okay.
Basically, same thing. Coal companies paid for those movies.
Yep.
Wow.
Disgusting and not surprising at all. Zaina, you're awesome. Thank you. We have had you way beyond what we promised you. Will you let everybody know where we can find you? And then also you have to let us know when your Substack actually goes live.
Yeah. You guys can find me at this at Zaina Say on both YouTube and Twitter. I don't have any new videos coming out, but I do have some coming out this week. They're going to be a little bit, or next week, they're going to be a little, is today Sunday this week?
It is. We've been doing the same thing.
Okay. Hey, Devin. This week, so they're going to be, some's going to be funny, some's going to be serious. I'm going to be covering more Appalachian history in a couple of videos too. So there's several where I'm going to dig into like the labor movement and all of that. So go check it out. I will share a link to my Substack and my Substack articles on Twitter.
All right, awesome. And when they're all up, we'd love to have you come back, and we'll share it also in the description.
Absolutely.
Thanks for letting me ramble, and thank you so much for letting me share the history. I feel like it's really important to get that out there, even though I took up some space. I appreciate it so much.
Oh my God, are you kidding? Sorry, I'm trying. Everybody's saying how much they love you, and I'm trying to put it all up here, but they're coming in so fast that we keep missing it. But yes, everybody is loving you up here. Thank you so much. Thank you. We love you. We adore you.
Absolutely amazing. We'll have you back anytime you want. And everybody subscribe to our Substack when it's out. And follow
all right, bye,
YouTube and Twitter and all that good stuff.
Have a good night. Thanks, sweetie.
Y'all later.
Bye. That was awesome. She's amazing. Holy Jesus, we need a drink.
Oh, shit. Spin that thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. I knew it. I'm already pouring it. because just like Joe Biden and Trump, it's God's will.
Yes.
Close. I love when we talk about God in political settings.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. No drinking. I'm gonna start drinking. Here we go. I'm not doing shots today. I'm just drinking a ton.
Yeah, baby.
Like every night.
Same.
There we go. That's what we're
Oh, let's just flashback moment here. Here we go. For people who weren't around in 2016.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
Smile black and sexy, you're so fine. Cause I gotta cry. How can I wait till 2008? Baby, you're the best candidate. I like it when you get hot on Hillary in debate. Won't you pick up your phone? Cause I gotta cry.
Oh my God, K-Hive. I can't even stand it. It's going to be.
And that
just
video
brutal.
does remind me of AOC spinning around in the twirls in the hallway.
Totally. When she was at BU.
Yeah, it's the same vibe, but I mean, somebody just brought it up, but it's so embarrassing to have thought AOC and Bernie and all these people were our heroes that could save us. And they were backing up Joe Biden harder than Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, the progressive wing.
Yeah. Okay.
They
I
fell
have
on
a
the
question.
sword. Yeah.
I have a question because I absolutely despise Joe Biden. I didn't vote for him in 2020. I especially like double dog dare would not vote for him again now. Anybody endorsing him, and even like, sorry, but there's so many reasons not to endorse him at all in the first place. But after he crushed the rail workers strike, like that should have been the end. Then
Right.
genocide. Like, so anybody saying, and like Elon Omar, he's the best president of my lifetime. Like all of that is disgusting.
Fuck off.
Do you think, because I'm really
Yes.
trying to
I'm
understand.
already going to say yes.
Do you think that the
Can
reason?
I finish your question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your question is, did they come out and do that because they negotiated for something behind the scenes? Is that your question?
Well, I don't believe they negotiate for anything. They haven't used their power to leverage anything at all for 4 years. But I think that in their brains, they think this is like their chest, that they were like, this is going to be better than whoever, because they knew what was going to happen, which is whoever is being put in next is going to be even worse. Like maybe I have no idea. I don't know, because AOC
I
has
honestly
made really
think
clear who she is. But I just,
Yeah.
guess I thought I had more hope for Bernie. And I think he thought that he has at least an opening. And by the way, I will say, as much as I cannot stand Kamala, I will not vote for her either. She has the most progressive record as it had in Congress. She actually verbally sided with Bernie often. When push came to shove, she always threw everybody under the bus. But did he I'm trying to figure it out. What in the hell?
I honestly think, I think they did have direct discussions with AOC and Bernie, and I think they negotiated for, something that pushes their agenda a little more, at least verbal support for their agenda, stuff that's not ever going to happen.
Right.
But I think they think AOC thinks she's playing this wise chess game,
Yeah.
But she's also, it's clear that she's full of shit and doesn't really care that much. Like the Israel issue puts it all front and center. It's out in the open. Like that you can say it's a genocide, which we finally forced AOC to do, and still come out and say the guy funding it is the best president of her lifetime. You can't, everything you do is worthless at this point. If those two thoughts can mesh in your politics, you could say he's the best president ever and genocide is happening and we're funding it. Yeah. Best president. Who are you politically? You're trash. Nothing matters.
I'm sorry. I'm reading all these comments because I'm being disrespectful to you telling me your opinion. Sorry. I just
No. Can we all have a moment of silence while Lila listens to me repeat my opinion?
Yeah, no, I want to hear it again. No, I
Balloon
understand what you're
drop.
saying, and I agree with
Sorry,
you.
I don't-
Like,
can't
there
do
is absolutely no way anybody should ever support anybody who is contributing to a genocide. Ever. Like, just ever. I don't understand the rationale, because the same thing, and people joked about it before, like when Michelle Obama put her arms around W and gave him a throat lozenge, and people are like, oh, I love that. And then they're like, oh, this is going to be, in 10 years, we all have to unify. And they subbed in the picture of Trump instead of George W. Like, that's what will happen. They'll be like, listen, he used to be a Democrat. When the next person is, I don't know, Marco Rubio or Josh Hawley or whoever the hell, they will do the same thing. They will 100. And now this is just like really gonna wrinkle me. I'm gonna have to have a shot, and I don't normally have shots.
Bookmark it, 611. That's coming. How do we send money to Daniel? Can we reverse money? I would like to send Daniel some money.
Let's drop those balloons.
Honestly, like, we're in this moment where the top Democrat responsible for so much terrible policy is getting calls from the entire world to get the fuck out of this race. And the people who are most opposed to his political side of the Democratic Party are the biggest cheerleaders for him. And they should be using this moment right now to say, let's get a progressive in, because that's how we can win right now. We could actually win, put a progressive in. And they're not going to do that. They're all in for Kamala, who is the worst. She's the blankest slate for corporate people possible. Next to Pete.
Yeah. Speaking of there are so many reminders. Like, I don't know. Do we start at the beginning? Should we start at the beginning of how this all went down? So I chose the wrong night to have insomnia. I was up from like 6 until 9:30, and I was like, I've already kind of prepped for the show. Went back to sleep, got up at 5 to noon. Like, who am I? And then saw that he had dropped out, and then kind of had madly re-put everything together. But there is a timeline of how this happened, and I feel like do we first just start with God? Because President Biden said only the Lord Almighty could convince him to quit. And not only that, an hour before he dropped out, this happened. This is hilarious. Let's hear it for Jamie Harrison. The Democratic Party chairs in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona released a joint letter endorsing President Biden at 9 a.m. today. 1 hour later, he dropped out. Come on. If only we could backtrack and go back to Wednesday and add that to our worst of the week for Harrison.
The comms on this and the communication between all these fighting factions. So look, I do think at the end of the day, it's going to be Kamala. Probably it's the easiest path. But the idea that, oh my God, I'm listening to Biden's speeches too much. The idea.
I know. You know what? I've never heard you say that so much since he.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's painful, but
it's infectious.
But it's not impossible that we actually have a full-blown convention war, because there are so many factions that really are going to be fighting behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's not as coordinated as people think. It really isn't.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a mess. Well, especially because Biden, in his letter that he released, did not endorse her. Then an hour later, he put out a tweet endorsing her, and all this, all the funding comes in now with her. Right after Biden did that, Obama says he supports an open convention, or a contested convention, an open convention, however he phrased it.
Right. He did. And even Biden supporters are saying the move is, it has to be you can't just elect Kamala. You can't just say, we're telling everyone to vote for Kamala.
Right.
right? You can't just do that. It has to at least be perceived by the public as some sort of fight for it. Even if you support her, it is good. And this is a factual political statement that it is good to have her perceived as putting up a fight and winning the fight, earning it.
Absolutely. For so many different reasons. It gives people buy-in. Like,
But
here's the thing.
But well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But that's just like saying Biden needs to get in front of the public more often. Because if you put Kamala in a fight for this office, she is going to not win this office.
Okay.
She is bad. So
She's
if
horrible.
other people want it and you provide an opportunity
not going to happen
in front of the public.
It's not. Here's the thing. This is
anything
what's
could
going to happen. And I think this is where Obama's cynicism and evil kind of comes through. That she's still going to, he knows exactly what you're saying and what I believe and all of that, that it's way better for people to feel like they have some buy-in to her, that she won it. No matter what, she's going to be the candidate. But if you do it in an open convention, then because who is going to go, knowing that most of the party structure is behind her, who's going to go in 3 weeks and put their name in the hat to run against the sitting
Joe
VP? Well, Joe Manchin
did announce.
I know he did. Which would be
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, look, you got to put somebody in. You got to put somebody in front of her and make this a race. And you could put the worst person in the world in front of her, knowing the plan is for Kamala to win this thing, and that could end up making it a race. I mean, because there are a lot of donors that have never had faith in Kamala. I mean, I know, look, donations are bribes. As much as there's this DNC insider thing that just wants a shitty corporate candidate, there are donors that want to win to get their bribes paid off.
Right, but they still want it to be a shitty corporate candidate who's going to do exactly what they want.
No. Whoever.
Yeah.
If anyone that could potentially beat her will be a shitty corporate candidate. I don't mean that.
Right.
But I don't think it's automatic that Kamala is the nominee at this point. I don't. It's still. I mean, she's
dreadful. She's so dreadful that there was a call with donors that Reid Hoffman and Dimitri, I can't remember his name, but he's like the sycophant for billionaire Reid Hoffman donor. Put together on Friday. And it was so ludicrous. They said ludicrous. I can't find anything now because I did it all so fast and we labeled things a little bit differently. The donor call. This was the donor call. Okay, a group formally they apologized to this Zoom call where people called in, big donors, to talk to her about where they were. This was on Friday. And her response was basically, just keep the money coming. We're going to win. It's going to be okay. It was so bad that you could hear one of the people saying that it was ludicrous. And then afterwards, an email went out to all the people who were invited to that call, apologizing for inviting them to the call with Kamala Harris, who that was Friday, and she is now the person. So, I mean, you're right. Like, they might all turn on her, and we know there is no democracy. And fucking Biden, who's like angry and, letting it leak that he's feeling betrayed, live by the sword, die by the sword. You only got here after two failed presidential attempts. Was it two? 1, 2. Yeah. Plus the third one where he came in 5th in New Hampshire.
Well,
Nevada.
This will be the third election he's dropped out of for president.
That takes some, it should have been, if Obama hadn't put him in as VP, and then if Obama hadn't crushed Bernie and put him in 2020, this would be the 4th. But also, it's funny, like karma. Yeah. So both with Obama pulling all the strings and getting him in there, and now Obama pulling all the strings and getting him out, and COVID. It's like the double whammy.
Yeah.
He's a karma factory.
But I'm telling you, you got donors that want their bribes to matter and know that Kamala can't win. So there's a little bit of an insider thing going on here. So,
but who do you think they think can win?
You got donors behind Pete that they're just like latching themselves onto his penny stock, basically, and trying to get rich off of his penny stock. I mean, Gavin Newsom,
Excuse me, just some important stuff is happening here. That's right, Lila.
Don't make me scroll up. Somebody there's someone up there I saw said something good, and I was just like, oh,
that you were right. Okay, so let's take a look at well, these are the possible VPs. They're already putting it out here, but some of these obviously could also be, the actual donor wishes for president. I mean, I hear good things about Pritzker. I need to dig into it more. He's Illinois, and I hear good things about Bashir also. And as Zaina was saying, like, he's been really good for them. I thought I was gonna like Shapiro in Pennsylvania, but it turns out he's pretty much Zionist guy. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, they're trying to get to this VP discussion fast because then it's like it's like a sales technique. Assume the sale. Like, oh, you already bought Kamala, so now we have to just what kind of add-ons do you want? You want Bashir? You want and then you're already planting in your mind like, well, I don't like Kamala, but if we get Bashir too, maybe it's better than the orange guy kind of thing. But I don't think it's a lock. I think we're gonna have, no matter what they want, we're gonna have a couple like pseudo debates on TV. But they'll probably be town hall kind of situations where let's listen to Kamala talk for a while. So they're not challenging each other directly.
Come on, they're never gonna allow Kamala to be heard for a while.
No, I think they will.
Should we give some reminders?
I think they will. Because but they don't want to debate. Although if they have a debate and it's sort of orchestrated and everyone agrees to be soft.
Oh my God, I want a debate between her and Trump so bad. I can't even tell you. It will be the funniest.
It's going to happen. Mark my words. They will debate.
Well, wait.
If she's the nominee.
You cannot have it both ways. You can't say that she's not. Listen. You already got out of having to
most
pay
likely
the price
nominee.
for getting it wrong on Trump being the nominee.
She is most likely the nominee. I'm admitting that. I'm just saying it's not a lock.
Right.
A lot of stuff's in play right now.
Yeah.
But if she's the nominee, she will be debating Trump.
Yeah.
There's no avoiding that.
I can't wait. That's what I'm hoping for. And that's supposed to be August 27th, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
I can't wait. Okay. So are we done talking about Biden? Do we just never have to talk about him again? Or do you want to talk about, I can't believe he got COVID the night that we did our show on Wednesday. And then either the next day or the day after, the guy, Speedy Mormon, who interviewed him on his YouTube show where Biden was like, nobody's been better for Palestinians than I have.
Yeah.
That night or the next day, he comes down with COVID.
And then goes on, all kinds of, goes in public in front of all kinds of people, not masked.
No.
Even after he's admitted to the public.
Wait, you're talking about Biden.
Biden.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying the interviewer guy. Did you see this video? It just made me sort of sad, but I have to show this video because, oh my God, look at this.
So this is awkward. Probably the first time in United States American history this shit's ever happened. Scrolling the timelines and I see this. Which is particularly not good because just, I don't know, a mere 48 hours ago, I interviewed the guy on my show. First of all, I'd like to say this is absolutely not my fault, okay? This wasn't me. But what's the protocols now? Because, you know what I'm saying, it's been so long. First of all, or actually second of all, Prez, why you ain't call my phone? First of all, you should have been hit me like, yo, bro, heads up. I just caught the, you know what I mean? You might want to, you ain't call my phone. That's crazy. But two, though, the shit's been updated so many times. Do I stay in the crib? I do have my shots in my passport, for those wondering.
Which are not effective against the variant that they just said he
has
has.
anybody ever got clapped up from POTUS? Maybe I'm the first. Basically, I risked my life for this interview, if you really want to boil it down. So, yeah, maybe I should go watch the thing then, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to do. What do I do? Can somebody tell me what to do? What, you know what I'm saying? What do I do? Do I just stay? I really don't know what to do.
God, that's such an indictment of our whole system. Like, I do think a lot of people right
All
now
of it.
don't know what to do, right? Also, Biden doesn't call to say, like, hey, you or his people, like, you know, you were just in close contact with somebody. And then finally, for all of the like, oh, it's just a cold crowd, then why do we ever report on it? And why does Biden have people like checking his, you know, blood pressure and his oxygen levels, and everybody else is sent back to work? He's isolating.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Can I just say that, like, I was listening to NPR, which I know you love that, but
It's one of my favorite things about you.
NPR was on a let's talk to people who are pro Biden leaving after Biden is now out, and let's hear them praise Biden, right? So they were
Right.
having all these people
Oh my
on
God.
saying, you know, best president ever. And one of them said, you know, saving us from COVID will be his legacy. Because Biden has COVID and he gives his last interview with COVID and he has to fall out of the campaign trail when everybody's calling for him to quit. Like, if he didn't get COVID, he might not be dropping out right now.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
COVID.
Exactly.
And he might not have this brain damage if it wasn't for fucking COVID.
This is
and
his-
COVID is
definitely at
peaking
least
right
his third
now.
one. Yeah.
So for these people to go on NPR and say, saved us from COVID,
Which was even in his
was
letter, which is
so
way too
insulting.
small. But he even says in his letter, so sorry, I have to put up just to get his words, because yeah, he even says, we expanding, appointed, overcame a once in a century pandemic that he now is infected with. Like, the cognitive
Fingers-
dissonance and putting those words out there. Like, what are you talking about?
And no reporter ever challenges all these guys praising him for COVID.
And they still somehow put 800,000 deaths on Trump. Like, obviously Trump was awful, but Biden's the one who peeled back all of the protections.
No, they say he killed 1 million people. Trump killed 1 million people. 400,000 people died under Trump.
Yep.
1 million have died under Biden.
They were all MAGA, though. We weren't going to do anything. I mean, seriously, they'll always have a reason. They just don't want to. Oh, well, that was over 3.5 years. No, actually, the rates of death were the same over the same period of time. And then Biden just kept going. Like, we have the charts. We've shown them here. I just don't have them right now.
And I don't want to look, if Trump wins, it's bad for the country.
It's horrible. Just why
It's probably bad for Palestine as well. But
Yeah.
I think there's a chance a shift will go with, now we can turn on Trump for Palestine policy in the media. Now we can turn on Trump for COVID. So for all the bad that Trump brings, which is actually damaging certain segments of society more than you probably would be damaged under a Biden administration, you probably help Palestinians a little bit. You save a lot of people from COVID because they're going to start looking at COVID again.
Yep.
So, like, I know if you're one of the marginalized people affected by a Trump administration more, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm saying, look, it's all bad. So I'm not going to pick winners and losers. I understand if you have to support a Democrat because you're in that group, I get it, but the whole system is fucked. I'm not going to vote for either one of these. I can't put my vote towards genocide. I want to vote Jill Stein.
Me too.
If you don't vote Jill Stein, I'm not going to demonize you, but I'm going to vote Jill Stein because I can't vote for either one of these fuckers.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never vote for either one of these people. And you know that, the other thing is they keep doing this. Listen, we had a primary, even though they very clearly said we're not having a primary because we've got the Democratic person is the president of the United States. We're not having a primary. They made that explicitly clear. And then the same people now are like, no, we had a primary and people voted. We can't go against the will of the people. none of this would have even happened if there hadn't been that debate, because all of the people who are now up in arms knew that he was sundowning for the last 5 years. But now that they've all been caught in the lie that they helped perpetuate and cover, they are letting him go. They won't but none of this has been democratic at all. None of it. So whatever happens now, it's not like they're going to pick somebody who they're never going to pick an Andy Bashir.
And I'm sorry, but like this illusion that because even if Biden did have a primary and won, Kamala's along for the ride. People didn't vote for Kamala. Right. You vote for a president. You vote for a candidate. That candidate picks his VP. Kamala hasn't earned shit. She got 0 delegates running as president. She wouldn't have won her own state. So this idea that we all this idea, but so
the idea that
but the concept that people picked Kamala,
go ahead, just
so we can't
one word.
So
bring out your thesaurus, Pat. Let's see it go.
People picked Kamala, so we can't go against the will of the voters. No, they picked Biden. Right. Biden's now out.
But they didn't pick Biden because he was the only person allowed on some,
Yeah, but even if you accept that there was a primary, they didn't pick Kamala. They picked Biden in this sham primary. Kamala hasn't won shit ever. Ever.
Yeah. None of it matters because they're all the same. So just a quick reminder of Kamala. This was in the primaries where we found out, and this is why she had I must be freezing because I can't. Oh yeah. Okay. We've talked about this a million times, but just as a reminder, she kept inmates locked up who were due for parole because they were cheap labor, mostly firefighters. She also refused to prosecute Catholic Church for sexually assaulting and abusing children. This one's kind of funny. Not funny, but whatever. They're all one party. Did not prosecute Steve Mnuchin's bank, Trump's Secretary of Treasury, for all of the disgusting infractions on housing loans, his One West Bank foreclosure violations that, millions of people lost their homes, didn't prosecute him. And then this is just the icing on the cake is that in 2011 and 2013, Trump gave money to her for her attorney general campaigns.
Yeah. And look, the laundry list of Kamala's negatives are going to go out and she's going to get so hammered because the left is going to hammer her. The right is going to hammer her.
Yep.
The right is going to latch on to the tropes about her sleeping her way up through politics, which, probably true. But the left should not focus on any of that because her actual record
policy is damning enough. Yeah.
Yes. Stick to the policy. But, she joked about marijuana use herself at the time when she was pushing 3 strikes laws and locking people up forever for marijuana violations. The prison labor stuff, she wanted to keep people locked up, even though you could have just gotten them out for petty marijuana crimes. But she was like, well, but what's that going to do to our
or they were up for parole, or they had exculpatory evidence handed to her.
But she joked about that. But record aside, tactically, she's also terrible at debating. Everyone saw her debate. They saw her little fake, I was that girl stuff.
It was a debate.
Not everybody landed punches like you did, though.
It was a debate.
So you don't mean it.
It was a debate. That the whole reason, literally, it was a debate. It was called a debate.
I understand.
Traveled to the debate. There were journalists there covering the debate where there would be a debate.
So what the fuck does that mean? She didn't mean that little girl was me that I slapped on a t-shirt and quickly already had ready to go out. because Biden was a segregationist opposed to busing because he didn't want his kids to go to school in a jungle. It was a debate.
Yeah.
How about
So
this
she's
one?
terrible.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, but
Yeah.
look, if it's just one prep against Trump and there's one experience, she might come out of it not looking as bad as she has. You know, she is a lawyer.
Yeah.
She has experience debating issues and prosecuting
The time
cases.
that she's been her best, though, are in those Senate hearings where she gets her time.
Where you have the power.
Yeah. And prepared questions. And the spotlight is on her. And it might happen if the rules are the same and Trump's not allowed to talk, that she gets to like land her stuff. And you're right. I mean, that really might be, as long as there's nothing extemporaneous, maybe.
Yeah. But how she deals with
Sorry, yeah.
How she deals with the public and how she answers questions on the fly, it's just god awful. And she's already answered so many questions so poorly and had so many sound bites and clips of being just awful at this job that And they put her, don't forget, Biden put her in charge of the border as the border czar. It's the number one issue to the right.
Yeah.
It's the number one. And now it's abortion. You know, suddenly she got moved to abortion. Forget the border stuff.
Yeah.
But she's gonna be the fighter for abortion, but you lost it under your presidency. Like you lost it. Like, how are you the best person to make this case to the public when you, under your presidency or vice presidency, you lost it?
I mean, they will be able to, it's been, listen, the whole thing has been like this, whether it's the taking the documents or whatever that you weren't supposed to take, whether it's the border and migration and deportations or the EPA or funding police or war, like the border bill, like everything. Democrats have gone so far to the right that Trump, as disgusting as he is, will be able to just call them out on their actual records.
But also, this is where the left is fucked. Kamala's going to go in there and say, no, we deported more people than you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, exactly.
It's going to be a winning case to the public to counter Trump from the left.
Yeah.
She's going to say, we did more of that than you,
We had
which
more
is factually
cages.
true.
Yeah.
Which has totally thrown out all progressive left on that issue.
Yeah.
So like AOC and Biden should not be endorsing her. They should be pushing for a fighter against her because she is not what we represent on the left.
Not even close. And they are such enormous disappointments. Honestly, Rashida Tlaib and I think Cori Bush, I have to kind of look into it a little more, are the only ones who have seemed to have kept their integrity. This is just another reminder because, again, like, they use her, they tokenized her as like, the Black Indian woman, child of immigrants, whatever. Wildly unpopular, so unpopular that she had to drop out before Iowa, knew she was coming in 5th in her own state. Black people polled did not like her. So like losing on every different metric, but this was another, golden moment.
Build more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. And we walk around everywhere. Build more schools. We protest. Build more schools, less jails. Put money into education, not prisons. There's a fundamental problem with that approach, in my opinion.
Yeah, she is a clown. And they're all fascists.
The rest of that video goes on to her justifying locking up parents of truant kids. That was a policy of hers.
Yeah.
Locking up parents of truant kids. So like, and also, I mean, I just want to remind people, what's coming is we're all racist. We're all sexist because we're not supporting her. We know this. We went through this with Hillary. That's coming. It's sexist and racist of us for us to call her the top cop, right? We're gonna make her a cop, but she called herself the top cop in California.
Right.
She ran on her tough on crime shit. She was very tough on 3 strikes rules. She was a big part of getting all those stuff passed. So those tropes, expect them all. We're all sexist and racist. That's why she's a great pick for establishment Democrats. They're going to leverage that against us. But we all know that.
It's just
Lila,
2016.
you're sexist.
On repeat. I am such a sexist. Okay. I think we should spin the wheel and then we can go through a little bit of the rest of the Trump, the RNC stuff, right? Is that? Yeah.
I'm always for the wheel.
Yeah, baby.
You're laying on shot. That's what you do.
I know, and
What?
Do we have to say what? If not, we can do a here. If we don't, let's do a here. If we don't know.
Yeah, just roll it. Here. I got it.
Okay.
How is Biden's politely masked fascism less dangerous than crass fascism under Trump? It depends for whom. So if you're a Palestinian, it doesn't really matter whether it's Trump or Biden. If you're one of our nation's incarcerated, it doesn't make a difference whether it's Biden or Trump. If you are a poor person, it doesn't make a difference if it's Biden or Trump. But if you're part of the liberal democratic elite, or even if you're a journalist, it does make a difference whether it's Trump, and Trump is worse. Trump has the kind of characteristics of fascist or neo-fascist movement. Biden is the caretaker of what Sheldon Wolin called our system of inverted totalitarianism. Inverted totalitarianism is a totalitarian system that retains the facade, the iconography, the language of the democratic state, but internally corporations and the oligarchy control all the levers of power. But it has that facade, and so that's different, where fascism will change the symbols. Trump, who doesn't have any real ideology of his own, he will fill that ideological void with Christian fascism and the iconography and language of Christian fascism. So there is a difference, but for many segments of the disenfranchised American population, including the dispossessed working class, and Biden was instrumental in that dispossession, NAFTA, destruction of welfare, a massive increase of the carceral state, that was all Biden and Clinton. It won't make any difference.
He's so good and he's so right. And, you know, we're not really talking about Israel today. We'll talk about it on Wednesday, which is when I think Netanyahu is coming to Congress.
To meet with Kamala. This is good. Wow.
Yeah.
I say we spin again. I'm just going to go for it. Let's do it.
Right,
push the button.
Here we go. I was getting so depressed.
That was too political. I mean, it was good.
I gotta just put a little more in here. And am I spinning again? Should I remove one of those?
I feel like it's criminal if you watch a show and you don't get one puppets at least or something.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna remove that. And listen, it's our show. We can show.
Yeah, baby.
We have you here.
All right. I'm removing that. I'm still drinking because I am still drinking. 1 second. Remove.
And strike is good.
Yeah, baby.
Come on.
Doing it.
I know. Look at that.
Let's go.
We got a lot of people are getting to their weed. Good job, everybody. Kimmy, Devin. I know I saw other people also, so I don't mean to not include you in the weed thing. Okay. I'm removing it because it's already quarter till, so we gotta.
Yeah, baby.
Come on.
You're so good at spinning.
I'm the best spinner ever.
Let's do the Vegas thing here soon.
I know.
Let's go.
God.
Yeah, baby.
There we go. Let's do it.
All right. Should we do Paul? This is about politicians, but all right, let's do it.
We're U.S. politicians. We represent the interests of multinational corporations, not you.
We're U.S. politicians. We've somehow convinced you that universal health care is a bad thing.
We don't view you as people.
We're U.S. politicians. We've created a bipartisan system so I can be as horrible as I want as long as I convince you the other guy's worse. Even though
we work for the same guys.
We're U.S. politicians. We tell you there's a climate crisis, but we all fly private.
We act moral while simultaneously being lobbied.
Which is legal corruption.
We get you to argue over social issues to distract from the underlying class issue.
Which is really a much bigger problem, you know?
We tell you to vote, and if it's not for our team, we'll change the district.
We can't find money to invest in education or infrastructure, but we can always find some for a war. We've convinced you that your poverty is your fault.
And it has nothing to do with the system we created.
We're U.S. politicians. We're spineless, immoral, corrupted sociopaths. Don't forget to vote.
Like, still, no one has talked about the working class. No one's talked about poor people. No one's talked about a living wage, Green New Deal. Like, nothing. Not a thing.
And that's why we really do need to force some sort of contested primary. I mean, even if it's for show, we need someone out there pushing a leftist message. And some of the people, if you have 3 or 4 of them out there running for the primary, the Democratic nomination, someone's going to push something leftist, because all we're hearing right now, we're not hearing anything left at all from Biden. We didn't. Kamala is not going to be out there going, oh, we'll do social programs. She's going to be out there like, I deported more people than you.
Yep. We got to protect Roe, and Israel's got to do what they want to do. She had like this long rambling answer about, I'm not going to question Israel's action. I feel so sorry for those babies. And then they said, so what would you do about it? I'm not going to question Israel's right to defend itself.
Yeah. So look, I'm a realist. Jill Stein is not likely to win this thing, but look, if you could make it a race to where we can get Jill Stein up to be competing, and maybe if we could force a debate, that would be the biggest win for the left on earth. Like,
they will never allow Jill Stein.
They won't. But look, if you're not using this opportunity to get people to look outside of these two parties, what are you doing? So stop.
100%.
Even if you're a shitlib watching this show, or you're just a scared true progressive, and you're like, I'm going to vote for the Democrat. Don't say that. Don't get out there and lobby people for it. Just do it at the end, and do it. Be the silent person who's scared. But like, we need to lobby for something better now. This is a huge opportunity for the left to lobby for something better.
Well, that's the other thing that happened when they decided, and I mean, I think this was strategic, and we've talked about this, but like, Biden was unpopular anyway. Like, when he announced that he was going to run again, 70% of Democrats didn't want him to run.
Like, no, don't do it.
Right. And then the genocide. Then he was like arming and funding the daily massacre of Palestinian civilians. And then all the protests. Well, now it's almost midsummer. I don't want to hurry it away because I have both my boys here, but like, we're about to get into the lead up to the general election. And now no one's talking about protests. No one's talking, like, has any mainstream media, corporate media covered the fact that the ICJ just issued their proclamation that Israel is an apartheid state, and that they have got to give back land and reparations to the Palestinians. They have to withdraw from occupied territory. No one has covered this huge, momentous decision. It's all
huge. And it goes back to the UN now, to who has to act on this legislation and this decision from the ICJ. Like, things have to change from this, and they are going to on some level, and it's not being covered. And it should be highlighted to put pressure on the UN. To actually enforce,
and other countries and our country to put pressure and to, withdraw financial support, and, the whole BDS movement, and sanctioning them and making them truly pariahs. And all of that has been obfuscated by, Biden's such a decent guy. He's such a patriot. He's stepped back. He got us through, he beat fascism and the COVID pandemic. And now he's stepping back because he truly believes in what's right for the country. And now and nobody's talking about any concrete policies. They're not talking about the genocide they just found polio in the wastewater, which, by the way, is like rivers running through Gaza.
Not only did they find polio, they found polio, and the Israeli army is going out there and immunizing their own people
against polio. Yep.
So they're letting polio rip among Palestinians.
Not been covered.
Knowing it's
not at all.
It's resurgence.
Yeah.
Resurgence. I don't know. Because of them.
Yep. And it's just out of the discourse. And it's all going to be blamed on, well, Biden has dementia.
They're going to hang it on Biden for sure. But that's where, look, all these politicians coming out and praising Biden's record, it ain't going to be good for them in the long run.
Yeah,
they're going to be
if we make it to the long
history.
Run. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're close. Do we want to show anything from the RNC convention, or what's your feeling? It's so bleak.
How long is the Trump video? I feel like we could roll the
3
Trump
minutes.
video.
Yeah.
Let's roll the Trump video just to see. Diaper ear.
With faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. On this journey, I am deeply honored to be joined by my amazing wife, Melania. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened. And you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Everything was different after that moment. Everything. And this convention is different. The nation is different. The world is different. Donald Trump is different.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
For as long as I've known President Trump, I've found him to be a man of his word. Things that he said he'll do, he did. When he told me and our country in 2016 that he was going to appoint conservative justices, guess what? He did. In 2016, he said he would defend religious liberty. And guess what? He did.
I'm honored to be your.
Okay, so that part right there is that's like the honest thing about the most unreligious person on earth. But like, there's no getting away from that. Like, the right will always love him for getting these conservative judges appointed that entered Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, he did it. Yep.
And so we're going to run the person who lost abortion rights to him.
He just needs 99 more Democrats.
90. And the polls show him like, we'll see what happens. But like, 5 new states became swing states because of Biden being so unpopular. Like, you went from 7 swing states to 12.
Hey, Pat, you're lagging a lot. You want to delete the JD Vance video? Maybe that will help.
Happily.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's roll it and I'll fix
We're
things over
done
here.
with this. Yeah.
Oops.
I'm honored to speak to our great nation tonight. You are a true leader. You epitomize strength. Our country loves you. Our country appreciates you. Our country misses you. And on November 5th, our country will re-elect you as the 47th President of the United States of America.
So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wisconsin. God bless you. God bless you, Wisconsin, and God bless the United States of America, our great country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, you can get rid of that now too, because then maybe your lagging will be done. The ear thing is so hilarious and like bizarre, and yeah, we both
that they were all like, where have we seen that before? Should we show where who else?
Oh, the
Charles Manson's followers.
I mean,
Charles Manson.
Jesus. And also, first of all, that speech of his was 92 minutes long, and they put him on some kind of sedative. It was all so slow and boring. And again, I will just say, I never want to hear anything about God, Jesus, the Lord, anything at any political. Like, it's so gross, and the Democrats will do it too, but I just hate it.
Yeah. So the first 15 minutes were him talking about how he's never going to relive this thing where he got shot in the ear because it was
they talked about it in real time, but at like a
15 minutes, and of course he's going to bring it up every fucking rally.
Oh my God, because God.
But then he honestly, he went off the rails. Like they removed everything sort of problematic and agitating, and we're going to fight the Democrats, and Democrats are the devil from his speech, and then he just added all in ad-libbing. And it was the most slow, painful. It was terrible. Like, you should be able to beat this guy. It was an awful speech.
Anybody. Oh my God. Slam dunk territory is what it should be, unless you coronate the worst possible candidates in the world, which is exactly what the DNC is going to do. Imagine somebody who actually had a vision, universal policies that help the working class, a social safety net, command language, anti-war, who could talk about the issues, would wipe the floor with him, handle JD Vance, who's smug because he thinks he's so smart and young, and he's got like, you could handle him also if you had a plan. Where's the Democrats' Project 2025? They have nothing. They have nothing. Not a plan.
Yeah, what is their plan is to say these guys removed your abortion rights, but we don't have a plan to get them back. And we did, like I said, we deported more people than them. So that those are lying. They're lying about the border.
Yeah, we don't want to defund the police.
We don't. Meanwhile, under Biden, obviously all the COVID stuff, but by removing the COVID protections, like literally in my town here in Sacramento, homeless camps don't get water now. Because that provided the water to the homeless camps, to the major camps, like 6 or 7 major camps got water delivered because of that. School lunches, so many programs that people loved and needed.
People actually lifted people out of poverty. We saw the change.
Democrats should be saying we're going to bring those things back because they were so popular with people, because they were popular with people.
Yeah. It's the one time that Biden enjoyed a bump in the polls was with the child tax credit and the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah. All right. What do we have? Anything interesting? We're kind of done, right? Is there any other thing? Blue MAGA?
Well, somebody said we it's our show and we should force the puppets on people. So
okay, yeah, let's do it. We should before we go out on one good thing, we should have Pat's favorite part of the show always, which is
we're forcing you to watch cat stuff. and cleanse your soul a little bit. And then we'll get back to politics.
That was good, Pat. That was cute.
Oh, ow. Just straight clawed me in the leg. So somebody has said, where's Strike? Although Strike was here earlier, but here's Strike.
There she is. Very cute. Although, oh, wait, we didn't show this. Kimmy, thank you. Super sticker. Thank you. Cheers. We appreciate you. And we didn't even call out, and we will now thank you. Thank you. Our wonderful members, our heroes and sheroes. Pat keeps adjusting the font. So thank you for our ever growing numbers. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right. I don't know. I think we kind of did it, right?
I think so. Let's go out on one good thing.
All right. I just want to set it up really fast just so we know what we're looking at, though. So as everybody knows, Macron in France called special elections, and the left, the actual left, united, even the center left, dropped out of races in different provinces where they knew they couldn't, where they couldn't beat the right, which was the far right, which is what we're being told Trump is. So this is them voting, the French Popular Front deputies voting for the president of the National Assembly. And the way it's set up is that the youngest deputy in the parliament staffs the ballot box, but he is from the right nationalist front. So this is how we should all be dealing with anybody on the right, as opposed to reaching across the aisle. This is how the left, the Popular Front, dealt with this far right bag of shit. So cheers to him. And cheers to them and to all of you. And Zaina, and thank you for coming on.
And thank you, Cora. Thank you, Zaina. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the important part is they're not trying to be friends and reach out to their audience and their supporters. They're not moving right. They're making a stand that we are left and we don't support this. And that's a lesson to the Democratic Party that they would never take. But,
cheers. We'll see you guys all on Wednesday. Keep punching up.